I'm Warrant Officer Class 1, Alexander McBroom, and I'm in the Royal Regiment of Scotland. Currently I'm the Garrison Sergeant Major in the Headquarters Edinburgh Garrison, based at Edinburgh Castle. And I've been in the Army for quite a long time, since 1994. I joined the battalion in 1996 after my training, and from there I've had quite a lot of operational experience, going to Iraq a few times, Northern Ireland, Afghanistan and Bosnia. Before I joined the Army, the perception of the military was very, very different to what it is just now. As I said, I joined in '94, got to the battalion in '96, and it was all Northern Ireland. It was all the troubles over Northern Ireland, and that was very much, and it was just off the back of the Falklands War back in 1982. Clearly since then we've gone through the Iraq, the Bosnia, the Afghanistan and any other global threat that we have. So the perceptions are much different now. We're trying really hard to be more open to the civilian society, because actually this isn't a secret organisation. One of the reasons that the military don't openly discuss what we do too much is because there are some secret aspects to it, as you can imagine, some sensitive aspects, I must say. But we're opening up a lot more, and the community can see that actually what we do, how we do it and why we're doing it. So the perceptions are certainly changing. Our ethos means that we're a team. We're a definite team. We're huge, and we can always rely on each other. Now, I certainly don't want to discredit any other organisation. However, we rely on each other heavily, not just on operations, but in the barrack environment as well, in the peace and the homeland environment as well. And we're always looking at trying to benefit each other and look after each other. And not just us, in the civilian world as well. We reach out, we're real good, we've got real good links into the civilian field, and yeah, we really enjoy helping. The difference really is, in a 9-to-5 civilian job, and I'm not generalising here, but as an example, a 9-to-5 civilian job, it's very unlikely that anybody's life's going to be at risk at that point, and they can go home. Whereas our friends in the military and who we work with are the same people. So we actually socialise with the people that we work with more than the civilian world probably do. There's three main aspects of progression rank-wise in the military. You need to be competent, you need to have professional competence, you need to know what you're doing. There's no point promoting if you don't. You need to be senior enough, so you need to have enough experience to benefit your next rank, and also you need to have the appropriate recommendations. You can be senior enough and you can be competent, but actually if you're not recommended to move forward, and basically it's like a reference, then you're not going to move it further forward. There's no harm in that. It depends what sort of person you are. But to move forward and to progress through your career, you need to be competent, you need to have your recommendations, and you need to be senior enough. Now that's evident in my own career. I joined the King's Own Scottish Borders as it was then. I became a piper. Now in the pipes and drums, at the time you didn't need to do a thing called junior breaking, so it was to get your second stripe to be a full corporal. You didn't need to do that. But I wanted to progress through my career rank-wise, but I was at a dead end. I couldn't do that because I didn't have the competence to do it. I didn't have the qualification to do that, and therefore I didn't have the recommendation. So I had to make that break to go back into the rifle company to get the competence, to get the recommendation, and then to move on. The military attitude that we get, that you basically make things happen. You've got to make things happen in the military, because times are sometimes tough and you've got to make things happen quite often. The way that translates into the civilian world is, if you're banging your head against the wall and you're not going to manage to achieve your aim, then we always have to think of an alternate way to go down, an alternate route. So our attitude that's built into us from the early stages means that when we go to the civilian world, we can make that happen as well. So if we're not academically qualified, then we go and get academically qualified, simple as that. If we're not getting the recommendation because we're not quite up to the standard, then we get up to the standard for the recommendation to progress. And that's what you'll probably find with military persons, is they'll make it work and they'll get trained, or they'll have the attitude to make it work. We always lean forward in the military, we don't lean back. On operations, you meet many challenges, and they're wide and varied, as the Army always is. Back in 2010, in Operation Herrick in Afghanistan, I was a platoon sergeant, and because of where I was situated in the geographic area, we had quite a lot of responsibilities, clearly supported by the company and the other platoons, but we had so many different aspects to cover. And so we were always out interacting with the populace. Now, clearly the bad guy, the enemy, the Taliban, don't like that. So they were trying to put us off doing it. So they would contact us. They would bring us under fire, under small arms fire, which was fine, because actually that challenge can be overcome 99 times out of 100, because it's almost like getting jumped. If you think about getting attacked in the street, if we could survive the initial punch, then we're going to win the fight, because we've got that much support. We've got all the air assets, we've got other ground assets, we've got our own training, our own tactics and techniques, and we can, 9 times out of 10, we can win that fight. But it's just that initial part that's quite challenging to try and mitigate against. As well as that, one of the tactics was to use improvised explosive devices, which my company experienced quite a few of. And again, just how you would deal with making sure that everybody was safe enough to go into that environment in the first place. Once it happened, what you're going to do about it, and then the challenge of getting recovered back and achieving your aim. And then afterwards, the sort of psychological aspect, that's a challenging part, because these incidents and operations, or even if it's not in operations, affect people differently. For me, I was involved with quite a few of the IEDs, but absolutely fine. Whereas other individuals maybe have a different challenge, and they maybe not have got over quite yet, and they might suffer in varying degrees. And that's a challenge. It's a challenge to support these individuals and make sure that we're there for them. They're there for us as well, because even though they're battling it, they're supporting us heavily. So the challenge there really is to support each other when things do happen, and they do happen. I'm married and I've got three children. I've got a girl, boy, girl, and I've been married for quite a long time, 22 years now, and we've heard that, oh, she should get a medal. She should. The good thing about our family is you get this line in the military that the military comes first and the family is a close second, and that's true. That's the way it is, but it's almost equal. It's, I could count in one hand the amount of times that the military trumped your family, because the family is a right important part, and the military know that. So I've always had my family values right at the peak of my thoughts all the time. So when it comes to my wife and my 3 children, they're not really children anymore, but my 3 children, if I can make sure that they're thought of, cared for, and they're looked after when I am away, then I can go and operate. I can go and do my job. And I'm very fortunate that I've got a real good family and work balance that allows us to achieve my military aim, but also, more importantly, to achieve my family aim. The support that's available to my family varies. So the non-official sort of support we've got the family support network, my mum and dad, my sisters and cousins, and you know, all these people, and my friends. We've got quite a big friend group, if you like. So all those people help, and that's outside the army really. But if there's anything in particular, or anything is required that's a wee bit more formal, then the Army's got one of the best, I would suggest, support networks that you can get. You've got the welfare officers within the battalion, you've got welfare personnel within garrisons or towns, and then all the way up to the regimental associations, the charities, Army Welfare Service. All these people, we are really, really well supported. But for a good reason, that we need to be well supported. If we go forward and into these challenging environments and we don't feel supported back in the homeland, then it's going to be really tough for us to operate and achieve the military aim. If you're still within the military and you get posted to a remote location or somewhere like that, then you'll always have someone allocated to you. So a welfare officer, for example, from the unit or the battalion or the regiment that is responsible for that area. So you'll always have someone to tie back to. And when you get posted or you get assigned, as it's called these days, they'll tell you who it is. They'll tell you who your network is, where you get your admin support and your logistics support. That all gets briefed out to you. So there should be no doubt. And so whether you're in a battalion or not, that should exist. If you transit out the army or the military, you still have a look back into the regiment. Now the regimental associations are there to support, as well as charities as well, SAFA and Poppy Scotland and Legion Scotland and all the rest that we know about. And you've got veterans points of contact that we can go to as well, and they give support. It'll not be the same structure as in the military, however it will be to the same standard at least that we're going to expect. So we are looked after when we transfer out into the civilian world, and it's improved an awful lot in the last 20 years. It's clearly going to get a lot better, but it's still there, and it's a very good package. The Armed Forces Covenant is a system in place that allows the veterans and the Armed Forces and the veterans not to be disadvantaged. That's the key. It's not for an advantage, it's to make sure that we're not disadvantaged, especially when we leave the Army, or any time when we're going through our career. An example of that is if the Covenant isn't as strong in a certain area and someone is waiting for an operation through the National Health Service, and they're progressing up the queue, and they get posted, because that's what happens to military people. We get posted every few years. They get posted to another area. Then traditionally what would happen is those guys would drop to the bottom of the queue. Well, because the Armed Forces Covenant is in there, that shouldn't happen, and they should maintain their place in that queue, for example. Same with housing as well, and other public aspects. We should be not disadvantaged just because we've got to achieve a military aim. That's what the Covenant's all about. From day one, when you join the military, installed into you is the values and standards of the British Army, or the Royal Air Force and the Navy equivalent. And that is discipline, respect for others, integrity, selfless commitment, courage and loyalty. That's the values. And then you've got the standards of lawfulness, total professionalism and appropriate behaviour. Now, all of that everything that we do, those values and standards are ingrained within us. Now, if for the aged amongst us, if you look back 20, 30, 40 years, there's quite a lot of breaks in that, because actually it was a glancing thought at certain points. Nowadays, that is the centre of everything that we do. We always have values and standards at the very forefront of our decision making. And that's who we are, that's what we do, and that's how we conduct ourselves. So when we go into the civilian world, those don't leave us, because they make sense, and we carry them forward. At least for everyone that I interact with, military-wise, they still got that just now. even if they've left 10 years ago, 5 years ago, or they're still serving just now, we should be upright examples of society. So what can we bring forward? We can bring a decent person forward that's got a desire to work hard and make a difference.